Joined now by Academy Award winner Matthew McConaughey, whose film Serenity opens January the 25th. Look forward to talking to him about that project. But Matthew, given the venue here, I feel I'd be remiss if I did not at least begin to give you an opportunity to talk about your beloved Texas Longhorns and the thumping that they delivered to Georgia in your presence in the Sugar Bowl, sir. Your level of optimism right now about UT football's what?
High, very high, and realistically high. I mean, look, we've been talking about where we needed to be and where we were going for quite a few years, and there's real resonance now that we are on our way to being where we need to be. You know, alignment was a word early on that Tom Herman came in and working with the AD, Dale Conte, from the top office down to the fan experience to every Saturday and in between, and we are getting aligned. There's one color that's around that campus and through that team right now, and it's burnt orange. And with that comes more victories. I'm really happy about where we're going.
Tom's a neat guy, isn't he? What have you thought about your interactions with him?
Number one, his mind is incredibly quick. It's almost like a mathematician.
Yep.
Secondly, he's obsessed. And I mean, he goes in his zone around game time. I've learned to pick my spots where I can interject or bring up something, because he goes in his zone and he locks everything else out. And I understand that because it's sort of what I do when I go to work. It's like I got to turn the rest of the world off, and he's in that zone during the football season the entire time.
Now, you interacted with my man, Stanford Steve, back in Austin, back when SC was in town. And I've had many ways, the meeting has been described to me a number of ways. I just want to know, how quickly into you all saying hello was he badgering you to come on and visit with us here on the show?
I think it was his opening. and I told him, I said, I've wanted to come on the show. I don't know why and how it's taken this long for me to come on this show. And he goes, well, hey, guess what? We'd love to have you. I said, well, I'd love to be there. Let's make this happen. Yeah, I think it was the opening. And then, you know, through the game, and then I looked down and he caught my eye, and he did that silly OU hand signal that they do, since they don't really have one, which is grabbing our signal and turning it upside down.
He didn't do
our hand
that.
sign. He did it, yeah. And I said, oh, yeah, that's exactly what we need. We need that resistance. We love it.
And you still came on, which we appreciate. And you've done us the great favor of stopping by. And look, we understand how the game works, so you got something to talk about. And I'm curious about it, because you get many options. You could do films. You could say yes to this, no to that. What was it about Serenity that was appealing to you?
Original story, original script, something unique, something I don't read that often that I'm looking for, something that I read and I say, hey, you know what, if I've got a choice of 20 films in front of me, this is the one I want to go see. And that's what it was on the page. Great writing by our writer and director, Stephen Knight. If you ever saw Locke before you've seen a movie he directed, yeah, you see the talent in the film, the cast, it drew great talent. It's a mystery. It's a whodunit. It's a film like, remember Angel Heart, Mickey Rourke and Lisa Bonet, Body Heat. Well, you know, he's playing a detective in his own life, trying to figure out if he's real or the world he's in is real. It's one of those movies that you're going to go for 2 hours, and it's not full escape. This movie will manipulate you. It will pull the rug out from under your feet just when you feel securely on your feet. And I enjoy those type of movies, being taken on the trip, being set up for the ruse and having the rug pulled out from under my feet. And it's thrilling.
Well, those are the films you want, the ones that make you think a week, a month, a year out down the road when you have a conversation about it. And it sounds like that's what this is. I
like those.
I've written a word down here on this card that I want to ask you about. It's not even really a question. It's more an idea. And that word is craft. Every accomplished person I encounter, athlete, coach, actor, businessman or woman, whatever, there's an idea of craft and mastering craft, and yet we don't ever really own it, right? There's always a process where you're trying to refine it, you're trying to sharpen it, you're trying to maintain it. For you at this stage of the game, what is your process as it relates to craft?
Yeah. You know, to use a golf term, I'm always saying, like, look, I'm trying to cut my handicap a little bit more. Okay. And I've still got a ways to go. You know, the difference with the arts and sports, and what I love about sports, is there is a clean measurement. If you're fastest, you cross the goal, you cross the line at 9.79 seconds in the 100-yard dash. There's a score, there's a number at the end of the game. Usually more points wins, unless it's in golf where lower points win. In the arts, it's different. So how do I get off every day? How do I look forward to Monday? How do I, you know, when I feel like I always do, a month into shooting, oh, I've got this? How do I brush off that complacency and say, wait a minute, you're not scared enough about going into work Monday. You're not as scared as you should be, McConaughey. So let's dig back into what we have to do, our work, again, preparation, and look at it in another way that makes you uncomfortable. My job is I want to show up to work with an arsenal. I want to show up loaded, ready. I want 5 different versions of telling the truth on my man that I'm playing that day, where you can throw anything at me. Another actor can throw anything at me, a director can throw anything at me, and I'm going to dance with it, and we're going to play. Because the work, like most things, the work, real work, comes before the making of the movie. The making of the movie, that's when we play. Just like in sports, the work is in the off season. The work is in the 3 months for me leading up to the role, to be prepared, to wonder what the hell I'm going to do with the role. How am I going to do it? And then by the time I get to ding, ding, it's in the ring, let's go to work, I throw all that out. And if I've done the work, it's moved from my brain to my gut, to my loins, down to my heels, and it's instinctive by that point.
Interesting, because I read an interview where you said that part of it is what spooks you. So that's what you're talking about. The enemy of the actor is the complacency and feeling like you own all of it. Is that what you're saying to a degree?
It can be.
Right.
You can connect the dots. You can go in and look. An actor must be relaxed. Tension is an actor's worst enemy. At the same time, relaxation doesn't mean, oh, I've got it. I'm on autopilot. And also, that's not as fun to go to work if I feel like I'm on autopilot. I want to have an experience in the making of the movie. Even if the movie doesn't do well at the box office, I want to have something that I can look back and go, hey, that 5 months of my life, I grew during that 5 months. I remember that. I feel that. That experience is going to be a part of my life and who I am for the rest of the time. Hands in the clay, so to speak. I want to have an experience with the work I do. And if I'm not a bit nervous, if I don't have butterflies on Monday morning, even a month into shooting, then I'm not going to have the experience that I want to have.
There's a Buffett song, A Pirate Looks at 40, which when you're 30 seems like forever away, and then when you're 50, it's like, man, I wish I was 40 again. I've looked at it both ways, brother, and that's a number that's coming for you. I wonder, what if anything, does it represent, that number, the idea of it?
The idea of 50s, number one, I'm not a big sort of demarcation man. Dates, Valentine's Day, I've got proof in my history that I don't do well on that day. Numbers, I was never someone who was like, oh, it's 35 years old, I need to be married and I want to have children by that time. I've never looked at 50 as dun-dun-dun-dun, halftime or anything like that. I will say this, and you probably can attest to this, 40s are a great decade for a man. It's really, for me, was the decade where I went from being able to define what it was I didn't want to do to customizing my life and seeking things that I knew I wanted to do, or who I was inside. 40s are a great decade for a man. 50s, I'm looking to continue that, to customize my life more so, to be more definitive with myself about the things that turn me on, that serve me, that pay me back, that give me green lights, and the people around me, my wife and family and good friends, the same sort of residuals that benefit me and the people around me.
You know what I find, Matthew, is, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I find that and everything you say resonates. And as you become older, I find I'm just so very grateful for the right now. I'm sitting here talking to McConaughey about stuff that I find interesting, and I just wake up grateful for that and hopeful that I get an opportunity to continue it. But if I don't, I'm grateful for what it has been, if that makes any sense. I'm just trying to prolong the moments that I get to be this grateful.
Heard. For me, look, and people say it in different ways. Oh, how do I stay in the present or something? I personally have to have something to look forward to be present.
Right.
I need a little something. I need the reason to wake up. I need something to accomplish, something I'm chasing. And usually it's something literal or it's an idea that I'm chasing down. I need that to appreciate and to be in the moment. But I do believe it is a science, that the gratification, the gratitude that we can give and the reverence and the privilege we can realize with what it is that we get to do.
Yep. While
still being in the middle of it.
Sure.
And having discernment and having opinion and having judgment at the same time. That's what I get off to. And I think it does pay it back. We do create more things in the future to be grateful for, the more grateful we are for what we have right now.
And outside of, say, Wooderson at this stage, I think you have to be in the sweet spot. You could inhabit any space and it'd be authentic. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know what would be withheld from you at this stage. And maybe that allows you to chase down whatever it is that itch you want to scratch?
Yeah, fortunately, I'm in a position in my career where I do have a lot of options. And I'm at a time in my career where those options are not intimidating to me. They're exciting to me. I'd be hard-pressed to tell you exactly what the next role it is I want to do. It's much easier for me to read something and go, well, I know I don't want to do that. And also I allow myself to say, hey, as long as like now I have a few movies about to come out, one Serenity is about to come out, that relaxes me, knowing that I have a few movies in the can. That relaxes me to say, hey, you know what, you don't have to know what you want to do next. Actually, let what you want to do next, you're going to draw it to you, McConaughey. Just be open to it. And when something crosses you at the right time and turns you on, take the step and do that. But I don't have a lineup of like, oh, here's the 10 next kind of roles that I want to do. Usually they come at me and turn me on at a time and where I am at that time in my life.
That makes sense. It seems you search for things, maybe you don't find them. If you just stay where you are and you're grateful and you're present in those moments.
Sometimes the target draws the arrow,
Yeah, that's well said, man. Listen, you could do a million of these, Matthew, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to sit down and visit with me. Over the years, whether it's with Russillo on the radio or sitting here, I just enjoy the conversation clearly, so I appreciate you indulging me with it.
I do too. I'm a fan. We got a few things in common. Obviously, Redskin fans. I'm glad we're not playing Maryland anymore. You're probably not. And
out of respect, I didn't bring it up. But 0-2, and I'm doing it 0-2, bro.
Y'all were a buzzsaw, man. You were a buzzsaw.
We enjoyed it.
And also, hey, thank you for in all the work that you do for not putting a highlight on the lowest common denominator just to make clickbait, as some other people do. Keep it up.
My man, I appreciate that greatly. All the best with this film and all the others that come, Matthew. Be well, all right?
You as well, Van Pelt.